Welcome back, everyone. It is the weekend recap. We are Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the pleb sites. All right, Nico, let's dive into the numbers.
Number time. Number time is brought to you by Nodl. They make some of the best Bitcoin nodes, like the Nodl Dojo. It's in red. That means it's faster. Run your own version of Bitcoin Core and the Lightning Network, all in the comfort of your own home. Remember, guys, if you don't run your own Bitcoin node, you're trusting someone else's, and that's a big no-no for privacy. So get yourself a Nodl today.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 736,535. The Bitcoin price 31,235. Chain rewrite days 736. Total public Lightning capacity 3,798.99. Moscow time 32:02. Blocks to the halvening 103,464. And the Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity. Samurai Whirlpool is a coin join or collaborative spend. It is not a mixing service. And the unspent capacity from that pool is 4,700.50 BTC. Nico, the very continued uneventful numbers.
The continued uneventful numbers. We took it. We're. It looks like we're channeling. We're holding steady at that 29 to 31 level. But again, the Fed is tightening, right? They are raising rates, and they're lowering their balance sheet, which is just a very fancy way of they're slowing down the printing of money. So yeah, man, I think that if they continue on this pattern, it might get a little bit worse. Whether you like it or not, Bitcoin has been correlated to the NASDAQ. It's been correlated to S&P. So, if the NASDAQ, S&P fall, unfortunately, in this moment in time, so does Bitcoin. I think in the future it will decouple, but not as of yet. Anyways, I have some really interesting data, though, because I think a lot of people pay attention to the price. But what we always say on the show, which is why we don't speculate, which is why we don't pull up charts or anything, we like to focus on the signal. And I think there's a lot of signal, right? If you actually pay attention to the hash rate, it took a little bit of a tumble, but if you take a look at the hash rate, if you take a look at the Lightning Network capacity, it keeps making all-time highs, right? And this, I think, is a really good indication of the growth of the Bitcoin network. And essentially what this chart is the number of addresses with 0.01 Bitcoin. And the reason that I say this is an indication of the growth of the Bitcoin network is more wallets, right? More addresses with the Bitcoin balance. You could assume these are people stacking, individuals stacking. And again, this is reaching an all-time high, right? And the last time I don't want to say it's parabolic yet, but the last time we saw a very big parabolic rise was the 2017 blow-off top movement. As you can see on the orange line, it just went parabolic, and then people slowly started to sell, right? Here, even though we had this big collapse, right, which in my opinion, it was partially because of Luna, it was partially because the Fed was raising rates, people just continue to stack. But it wasn't only the people holding 0.01 Bitcoin, people holding 0.1 Bitcoin are also stacking as well, right? Continues to go up a little bit bigger. People holding 1 Bitcoin also continues to go up. Holding 10 Bitcoin, it's going a little sideways, right? So you can see the bigger addresses aren't accumulating as much as the smaller addresses. This is addresses with 100 Bitcoin, right? So it's not that it's going down, it's pretty much staying the same. And whales are addresses with 1,000 Bitcoin or more. Here, because there's not such a large amount, you could say these are exchange wallets. You could say, what I'm trying to say is there's not a lot of individuals with this amount of Bitcoin, right? So you could see it went up a little bit here, but you could have said that is exchanges rebalancing their stuff. So I don't really like to pay attention to, balances of 10K or 1K Bitcoin or more, because I don't know what percentage of those could be exchanges. But with addresses or with 100 Bitcoin or less, right, you could surmise that those are people with Bitcoin. Those are individuals with Bitcoin. So here it's pretty much steady with 10 Bitcoin. It's pretty much steady with 1 Bitcoin. It's pretty much steady. But the plebs, right? they're stacking like crazy. People with 1 Bitcoin, they're stacking as well. People with 0.01 Bitcoin, they're fucking stacking like crazy. So, and my, again, unlike a lot of, our friends, right, that do the whole chain analysis and, the block, they look at all that stuff. Look, in my opinion, to me, that looks like that is the growth of the Bitcoin network. Those are individuals that are continuing to stack into freedom. And that goes all the way up to 1 Bitcoin. Once it gets to 10 Bitcoin or more, right, that kind of starts going a little bit sideways, right? So just some really interesting data. You guys could surmise what you want from it. But to me, that represents growth. That represents that the fundamentals of Bitcoin are just getting stronger. So if you put the noise aside, which is, the recent volatility, right, it's never been a better time to stack. Anyways, Phil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think what we're seeing is healthy and what we're seeing makes sense. Because look, let's face it, not that I want to assume the way that anybody lives, but if you have more than 100 Bitcoin or more than 1,000 Bitcoin, most likely you don't really need to stack at these levels. And to your point, right, 1,000 or more Bitcoin is most likely an exchange. But as an individual, right, is the individual, like their desire to stack really hard, I'm not sure that they're really feeling that, like it's not the same thing as those of us with, 1 Bitcoin or less, the desire. So I think what we're seeing is healthy. It's natural. Look, especially if we look back at the price action last year at this time, I think we were in the 40s. I think we were like in the 40K region. So we're actually below where we were last year at this time. And at this time last year, during the, we were building up. So the media was building up. There was a lot of news. So a lot of those people who started to pay attention now, who maybe didn't get in, are taking a look at the price level and are like, you know what, this is a lot better of an entry point for me. And that's happening also. So at least that's the way I'd like to imagine it. The other thing I wanted to say had to do with your previous point about, the Fed tightening rates. So sometimes, I shouldn't say sometimes, but often, right? We say that Bitcoin is like a hedge against inflation. But then people can also make the argument, well, if that's the case, then why, Like, why isn't it going up because the money printing, even though they're slowing it down, they're still doing it. The money is still being devalued. Go look at the debt clock. That's still all happening. It's not like that's pausing. So, the point I'm trying to make is that right now, though, we are still in Bitcoin's growth process. I believe that we are still transitioning out of the what you'd say like a collector's item, right? Like we are still transitioning from the collector's item into the medium of exchange, and obviously the store of value. So it's really interesting at Bitcoin's present time where we're at. So right now, a lot of the themes that we may say sometimes don't seem to correlate immediately, but when we zoom out and we look at the bigger picture, it works perfectly fine. When we zoom out and we look at the bigger picture, Bitcoin has has essentially destroyed the rate of inflation, right? If you held in Bitcoin, you did just fine against inflation.
Of course, in the last 2 years, Bitcoin's up pretty much 1,000%. You're absolutely right. If you held on to Bitcoin and you tried to zone out the recent volatility, you're still up, right? So I think that's the signal right there. As much as they would want you to believe, it's look. I always say this, right? Fiat, they say it's stable, but I think that's disingenuous because. So their goal is 2%, right? But that compounds over time, right? And it's like you're losing money slowly, ever so slowly that you don't notice, right? Whereas in Bitcoin, yeah, it might be volatile, but it's volatile in the up direction, right? So it's like that. Those are your two choices. You have something that's more stable, and this year it's not. We have 8% inflation in the United States. I know it's a lot worse in other countries. But it's still losing money. Even in the best year, it's designed to lose money. Whereas in Bitcoin, it's designed to go up forever, right? There's a set amount, 21 million, and not to mention the halving every 4 years, right? That literally causes a supply shock. So yeah, man, it's some crazy stuff to say the least.
Yeah, I was gonna say the goal is 2%, but I mean, come on, like we know what's happening. It doesn't matter that the goal is 2%. The point is that it's built in. It's built in that it just fucking goes down all the time.
Yep.
That's insane. That's insane that anybody agreed to this shit.
Dude, we didn't agree to this shit. That's the fucking crazy part. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
The Daily Fail. Brought to you by Swan. Check them out. SwanBitcoin.com. That's right. It is a Bitcoin stacking platform by fellow plebs. The best way to stack your corn, automated Bitcoin savings plans, instant purchases, and an app soon to come. The link is down below. Got to give a shout out to Corey Clipston because he has absolutely been destroying the shitcoins. I know that Nico calls me.
Is Corey replacing you, Phil? Is Corey the shitcoin slayer?
Woo! You know what? He is beyond the slayer. He is like the shitcoin destroyer. Okay,
Corey the shitcoin destroyer.
He there's nothing even left when he's finished. I look at Luna anyway. Okay, but we're not going to talk about Luna today, okay? Because we've talked about Luna way too much. We are going to...
What's Luna?
Right? Exactly. That's exactly it, though. That's exactly the point. Okay, so but we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to pivot a little. All right. Corey tweeted this out. This is from Celsius Network. Now, look, normally I do this whole big thing where we dive into what Celsius Network is and all kinds of stuff. The point of it is to make it simple. They rehypothecate your Bitcoin. It's just like BlockFi. So you move your Bitcoin to their platform. You do it in an app or their website. And then after that, by leaving it there, they pay you a certain interest rate on the amount that you hold there. And then eventually what they did was they introduced their own shitcoin, okay, which is very much like a BitConnect kind of thing and very much like even a Luna kind of thing.
BitConnect! Sorry.
That's right. And... anyways, after they did that, it's all the same typical type of stuff like BlockFi. So they're rehypothecating Bitcoin. Anyways, the point is, let's take a look at this tweet, and this is why we tell you that, this interest rate that they're paying you, okay? Bitcoin on average, just holding it gives you 200% annual. You could be safe and you can minimize the risk just by holding it yourself, take self-custody, and you can quote unquote earn yield against our devaluing shitty currency. And when I say earn yield, I mean earn value. Anyways, let's take a look at this tweet. This is from Celsius. It's not a tweet from Celsius. It's a tweet from Corey, but it's part of the Celsius website talking about what happens to your digital assets when things go horribly wrong. In the event that Celsius becomes bankrupt, enters liquidation, or is otherwise unable to repay its obligations, you may not be able to recover or regain ownership of such digital assets. And other than your rights as a creditor of Celsius under any applicable laws, you may not have any legal remedies or rights in connection with Celsius obligations to you. So that is scary stuff. That tells you that right there, God forbid anything happens to this company, whatever digital assets that you had there, quote unquote, earning you interest are just gone. Okay? There is absolutely no insurances, no guarantees. Anyways, Nico, did you know about these guys before, Celsius? Supposedly, it was started by Alex Mashinsky, who claims that he created the VoIP protocol, the voice over IP protocol. Oh. I don't know how true that is, but that's supposedly that's him.
Okay. Yeah, Celsius. So I've heard of them, but I didn't know what Luna was until like a week ago. That was the first time I was like, Luna. I was like, oh, apparently that was important. So yeah, I mean, I'm just out of the shitcoin loop. Does it surprise me? Absolutely not. Coinbase kind of caught with their pants down as well. Similar wording. If we go bankrupt and we're custodying your Bitcoin, we're not responsible. Brian Armstrong freaked out. He had to do some damage control. Did a thread on Twitter, which you covered, by the way. And yeah, it's just, look, if that's not a good advertisement as to why you should self-custody, I don't know what is. Self-custody your Bitcoin. Take that power into your hands. You've never been able to hold that power before 2009. Anything you've possessed, whether that was cash, whether that's gold, the balance of power was always in the direction of the mob. It was always in the direction of the state. But with Bitcoin, you could memorize. I don't suggest you do this, but you could, store in a very bad case scenario those 12 or 24 words in your mind, and makes it very difficult for someone to get it out of you, right? And not only mention that, not only that, but you could also multi-sig, where you could store your keys in different geographical locations. That moves the balance of power and the return of violence completely in your favor. Before Bitcoin, that was never the case. Use that power, and when you give up custody of your Bitcoin, you're shooting yourself in the foot, metaphorically. Anyways, Phil, what is the next fail?
Get ready. We are about to go on a journey. Okay,
on a journey.
A journey into the future and into outer space, Nico. Ooh. Where the world is about to get so much better. And here's why. Welcome to Mars. I own everything, have total privacy, and life has never been better. Does that sound like something that interests you, Nico?
That sounds like that literally sounds like I own nothing, I'll be happy. Like it's just that article traumatized me so much. I just remember right off the bat. When someone tells you life has never been better, that is usually a bad sign.
I swear, Nico, just the title, I was like, I have to read this. I know this is going to be some shit. And I got to tell you, man, we are not going to be disappointed. This is some shit. Okay. Welcome to my city, or should I say our city, because I, like every other inhabitant, am a stakeholder in it. Oh, God. My city on Mars has a decentralized governance structure, just like the greater Mars. It's not even mean. The hell's the greater Mars? Anyways, we have police that spread peace instead of violence. We have financial systems that spread wealth instead of creating poverty. We have institutions that are open instead of closed, and transparent instead of secret, all of which makes corruption practically impossible. Our institutions are bottom-up and people-powered instead of top-down and authoritarian. Nico, everything's just amazing in this utopia. It's just awesome. Decentralized government. In our world, it makes perfect sense for everyone to say they own everything. Everyone owns everything, Nico. Every product and service, at least all of the most important ones, is provided by a decentralized organization. An organization that no one person or group controls, that anyone can acquire a stake in. Sorry. We live in an abundant world thanks to technology far beyond what you have on Earth. This is because on Mars, all technology is open source. All of this is made possible thanks to an advanced financial operating system that emerged in 2022. So we were not talking about Bitcoin. That enabled people to profit from the creation of open source software. A piece of software was released that made a peer-to-peer economic system with no barriers to entry available to everyone for free, and quickly spread virally. The foundational element of this system was feeless and upgradable smart contracts, Nico. They're free and they're upgradable. All right. Earlier versions of these blockchain networks had been released, but they were often very energetically wasteful. Bitcoin's bad. We're going to fix Bitcoin. Have I got a shitcoin for you? This new platform, however, was entirely feeless and highly efficient. Smart contracts that allowed people to cast votes, create different kinds of money, and even share their thoughts publicly could all be created and used for free. That's right. Your public thoughts should be money. All of our thoughts should be tokens, tradable tokens. So here we go. Who was this wonderful story by? This wonderful story was by Arthur Levine. He's the CEO of Koinos Group, a team of industry veterans accelerating decentralization through accessible blockchain technology. Their foundational product is Koinos, a free-to-use and infinitely upgradable blockchain with universal language support. So that's right. Wrote the article about this utopian, creepy future where he's the head, the CEO of the company that owns the shitcoin, right? And everything is wonderful. So let's go take a look at it. This thing's going to be a rug pull very, very soon. Okay? So here we go. This is the Koinos mainnet. Boom. We've got all the makings of something that's incredibly easy for everyone. No barriers for users, no barriers for developers, no barriers for upgrades. Everything's amazing. Everything's great. It all just works. Everything's free, man. It's free. Free is great. Okay, but this is the best part. This is how we know this isn't going to end up being a rug pull. Okay? So its consensus is decentralized, efficient, okay, and minimal hardware requirements. Well, that's good. The staking, this is the good part. Guaranteed yield, low effort, no hardware requirements. And they've got governance, Nico. Okay? So we've got all this really good stuff. And then, okay, yeah, man, this is so ridiculous. And then the best part of it is this. I want everyone to end with this thought. We want the block producer to have the same skin in the game that they do in a proof of work system without requiring that they actually do the work. Now that sounds like some bullshit. That sounds like some big bullshit. Nico, I want you to have the benefits of proof of work, but you shouldn't have to do the work.
Remember how I told you?
What does that sound like to you?
Remember how I told you many times on this show, the shitcoiners remind me of communists. There you go. They literally ripped the "You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy" World Economic Forum article that they ripped from the internet, but we still have it, by the way. They they took out all the communist stuff. They put in their shitcoin in there, and they put Mars. Let me tell you about Mars. Okay, it's awesome that Elon's going. Okay, very cool stuff. He's going there. I think as a species, we need to do that. But me personally, I like Earth. Mars literally wants to kill you. There's no air. There's no atmosphere. It's really fucking cold there. It's a shitcoin. Mars is a shitcoin planet. That doesn't mean you should go investigate, explore. Yeah, go do that stuff. But I'm not doing it. So, yeah, man. Okay, go have their utopia on a fucking dead planet. You want to give this guy money? You're like, dude, it's crazy. And whoever thought copying the "You Own Nothing and Be Happy" article was a good idea? If you invest in that, you deserve to lose money.
Guaranteed yield. I mean,
what is
disconnect?
That?
Really?
What is that, dude? That is so dystopian. That's a joke. That has to be a joke. There's no way that's real.
Dude, please. We cover so many. Come on. They literally injected shit into a mouse and made a token out of it, Nico.
They took the "You Own Nothing, Be Happy," one of the most unpopular articles on the face of the internet. You ripped that and he inserted a shitcoin into it. Oh my God, what is wrong with these people, bro?
You know what? I didn't cover it in the article, but they have this great mechanism, right? Right, because it's not proof of stake, and obviously they don't like proof of work. It's proof of burn. Okay? It's incredibly efficient. And this is how it works, Nico. You send your tokens to an address that's not spendable. This is, I mean, the breakthroughs, they just keep coming. And really, this needs to be money. This needs to be the future. And we need to be invested in the money of Mars. Which this will not be. This will be the rug pull. This will be a rug pull on Earth. Don't get me wrong. It'll be a rug pull here.
Mars is
it won't be anything on Mars.
Mars is a shitcoin.
I know. Why does anyone want to go there? Does anyone watch the movies? Everyone goes crazy.
I get it. We have to go to Mars. I get it. I just living. Dude, you have to terraform it. Dude, it's hostile. It's like living in Antarctica, dude. That shit's not fun. You have to fucking live in a bunker, basically, those little things, right? So anyways.
I don't think money's going to matter there for very long.
I agree.
It's going to take a while before people start giving a shit about the money.
Well, seriously, it's more about survival at first, right? Oh man!
And the shitcoiners are out building blockchains on Mars, right? Everybody else is trying to survive. Everybody else is following Maslow's pyramid, and they're sitting there we should build a blockchain out here.
Look, I'm not even going to try to warn you guys. If you want to invest in that, you deserve to lose money. That's all I gotta say.
Sorry, not sorry.
It's dystopian. It's really dystopian. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Citadel 21. They make the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's stories, articles, comics by actual Bitcoiners. Every volume has different artwork by a Bitcoiners. The artwork for Volume 10, it just came out. And no, sorry. Volume 11 just came out. This is the artwork for it, and this is the artwork for Volume 10. And they're scarce. There's only 1,000 physical copies made per volume. Get your prints of Citadel 21 today before they run out. All right, everybody, welcome to the Meme Review, where we review Bitcoin memes. We are living through narrative trench warfare, and memes serve a purpose. They serve an essential role. They're weapons of information. Anyways, let's check this out. This is this one isn't really a weapon. This one is by, we have to give credit, by Planet Boop, and it was posted by EB_in_the_house. Come on, do something. No, not that. It's true. It's true. All right. This is by Coinfinity Few. This is the actual, they managed to get another picture of a black hole. I thought that was really awesome. I think that they added the swirls, but really cool. And he's looking, oh, the black hole of Bitcoin. I like that. All right. Moving on. This is the next one by Bogey, BTC Bogart. 2,100 trillion. That's what I love about Bitcoin, man. The price changes, my stack stays the same size. I like that, man. Cool stuff. By the way, amazing movie. You have to see this. Dazed and Confused. Freaking classic. Yeah. By Jameson Lopp, Crypto Project Marketing. Highly accurate. Really well done. Highly accurate. All right, by Shop and Bit. It's never too late to learn about Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? What is a blockchain? What is a wallet? Wait, you guys still know nothing? It's so true. I swear. Look, if we don't survive this cycle and they're still saying blockchain in 2020. What is the next one? The next 2025, 2026. Anyways, if we're 2025, 2026, and they're still saying blockchain. Anyways, here comes Chlor. Plan B, Terra, Celsius, Corey Clipson just slaying things. All right, moving on to BTC Gandalf. Bitcoiners be like shitcoining. Shit posting. It's so accurate, right? Very good memes. Very good memes. Shout out to all those plebs posting. Good
weekend memes, right?
They're good. They're good. I like them. They made me laugh. Anyways, I'm gonna give a very special score. Shout out to Alex Glassy. We had him on last week. He recommended this book. I bought it. It came in the mail. It's called Bitcoin is Business. I'm not gonna pretend like I read it. I just got it, but I am going to read it. He recommends it. I don't know. It has a cool cover, I guess. Anyways, Phil. What would you give those memes?
I gotta dig.
Apparently, it's a good book. I'm excited to read it. Apparently, it's cool.
It looks good. I should get it too. I will get it. I gotta settle into my new place. Okay. Let me find.
You know what? I keep getting called out on reusing stickers. Didn't realize I had used the ladybug twice.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I did. All right. Hopefully, I didn't use this one yet because I really don't remember. Maybe I have. All right, I'm going with the F Fiat one. I feel like I haven't used it yet.
It's a great meme.
It's another Sweet Toshi original.
It's a sticker that's a meme.
It's a sticker that's a meme.
It's a meme sticker. Anyways, guys, we want to know if you agree with our scores, you disagree. Let us know down in the comment section. Comment. And, of course, subscribe to us on alternative video platforms like Rumble.com and our personal favorite, BitcoinTV.com. They don't censor there because Bitcoin TV. And join our awesome Telegram group. It's a party in there where you could link us some awesome memes to review. You can hang out with the plebs. It's really cool. And the memes that you link us in there, we could review them on the Meme Review because it's a Bitcoin Meme Review, and that's what we do. We review memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily News.
Brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. They make some of the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the famous 3D printed Bitcoin grenade toy. Comes in any custom color your heart desires. This just happens to be in gold. I think it's really badass. You know, it pisses off Peter Schiff. Here's a blue one. Really cool stuff. And they also make the famous Bitcoin Honey Badger. It's 3D printed, comes in 3 different sizes, and you can take advantage of the promo code down below to get 5% off. CryptoCloaks.com. All right, everybody. Another day in Clown World.
Nope.
This is insane. We must separate money from state. Like, this is absolutely crazy. This is a politician. No, let me rephrase that. This is supposedly the most powerful man in the free world.
This is a shitcoiner.
Joe Biden. You want to bring down inflation. Let's make sure the wealthiest corporations pay their fair share. Do you know the level of gaslight that is?
Yep.
Okay, let me pull this up.
Yep.
So this is an M2 money supply. Represents the amount of money that's been added to the supply, right?
It's the rich people that are causing this. The rich corporations, Nico. The wealthiest corporations aren't paying taxes, so the money supply is going up. You need to explain it the way that the politicians see it. Okay?
So
just remember, they're not paying their fair share. I'm sorry.
So
Continue.
look, this chart goes all the way back down to 1959, and in 2020, this very suspicious hockey stick went up, and literally 2 years later, record inflation. Who could have told you that? The Bitcoiners. We all knew this was going to happen. But if you listen to the President of the United States, it's the wealthiest corporations. They're price gouging. This is dystopian. This is crazy. They caused the problem. And I'm not talking about just the Democrats. It's the Democrats and the Republicans. Cynthia Lummis has said this many times. The crazy amount of spending. You have Biden having the nerve to go have a press conference saying, inflation is my main priority. Anyways. So, ban on excess gasoline price is heading for House. You know who told us this was going to happen? It was Mark Moss. Because our theory was, hey, the Fed's in a really difficult place. What do? Right? They raise rates, meaning they stop printing money, they slow down the economy, and they control inflation, or they continue printing money, which is good for the economy in the short term, but inflation keeps going up. But Mark Moss came on the show and says, no, there's a third option. The third option is price controls. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are at that point in the goddamn movie. Do price controls work? Well, if you look at history, they never fucking work. Anyways, the U.S. Congress will vote next week on legislation barring excess or exploitative fuel prices. What's absolutely crazy about this, guys, is that they will go to whatever lengths to gaslight you and blame everything but themselves. And let me show you how much they don't take this fucking seriously. House passes $40 billion more in Ukraine bill aid with few questions asked. The escalating brutality of the war in Ukraine has dampened voices on both the right and the left. As I told you, it's not just the Democrats, it's both fucking sides. They're both addicted to the money printer. The left for social stuff, the right for war. Skeptical of the United States involving itself in an armed conflict overseas, fueling a rush by Congress to pour huge amounts of money into a potentially lengthy and costly offensive against Russia with few questions or reservations raised. So remember, when the United States president or the Republicans say they fucking care about inflation, no, they fucking don't, because they're willing to print more than the budget for the state of Pennsylvania so they could send it overseas. The House on Tuesday night passed a $40 billion military and humanitarian aid package for Ukraine in an overwhelming 368 to 57 vote. Weeks after lawmakers overwhelmingly approved $13.6 billion in emergency aid for the war effort, that totaled roughly $53 billion over 2 months. $53 fucking billion goes beyond what President Biden requested and is poised to amount to the largest foreign aid package to move through Congress in at least 2 decades. Okay. Why did I cover all that? 80 billion left in Afghanistan when the United States pulled out. 53 billion sent halfway across the world. They say they care about inflation. This is the problem with fucking political money. This is the problem right here. Central banking fuels war. Endless fucking wars. Afghanistan over. Let's go to another one. A fiat enables this. Under a Bitcoin standard, this shit would be too expensive. They say they care about inflation, but they sure care about war a whole lot more. This is ridiculous. This is literally why we have to separate money from state. It is literally about peace for mankind. Because if we continue the route of central banking, more wars, endless fucking wars, it's not a coincidence that the bloodiest century in mankind's history was also the century of central banking. If that is not a good reason as to why we have to transition to a Bitcoin standard, I don't know what is. We need to take the money out of the hands of politicians. We need to put it back in the hands of people. And now you know why they are attacking it as hard as they are. These people are bonkers, and they don't care about you. Because if they cared about you, they would be more concerned about controlling inflation than they would be printing $40 billion out of thin air to send it to another war. The United States was just in a war for 20 years. What did it amount to? When the airplanes were pulling out of Afghanistan, you guys remember the videos? There were literally people flying off. We left $80 billion to the people that we were supposedly fighting for 20 years. Why not do it again? This is fiat. This is what it causes. This is central banking. This is what it's always caused. Bitcoin fixes this, but only if we win. If we don't win, more wars. More fucking political bullshit. This is peak insanity. And it's by both parties. And I'm not the only one saying this. This fucking Cynthia Lummis says this as well. Anyways, Phil, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so look, man, very well put together. Look, politicians, it's no secret that they're slaves to the central bankers. Okay? And when we vote these people in, they are supposed to serve the people. Right? That is the government's function according to what we've all been brainwashed to believe. We vote these people in, and they're supposed to do what is best for the country. Now, I highly doubt that any of us were asked whether we wanted to send $40 billion abroad, okay, to fund some war that we have no part of, rather than fix a lot of really, really breaking infrastructure and services that we have here. I mean, look, if we're money printing, all right, and we're making everybody poor, why are we not helping ourselves? This is insane. So who here voted to send $40 billion abroad? I don't think anybody did. But this goes back to what you said, Nico. This is why we have to separate money and state, because these people don't have to ask us anymore. They don't have to ask us. They just take it and they move the funds to what they want for their causes. And it has to do with their lobbyists and what their interests are. Anyways, so we're sending $40 billion abroad. But the wealthy corporations, they're the evil that has to be reined in, right? So the government, without any of our consent, is sending $40 billion there. But these wealthy corporations that employ people, right, that allow everybody to go and put a roof over our heads and all that good stuff, these are evil, evil corporations. They are profiteering, Nico. How dare they?
Dude, it's peak insanity, dude. It's peak fucking insanity, Phil. Like, dude, it's not us. It's everyone else but us. It's the supply chains. It's Putin. It's the virus. No one mentions the money printer.
Someone else has to pay, Nico.
Dude.
Someone else.
It's crazy. This is sickening. 20-year war in Afghanistan. Let's go start another one. Like, it's insanity. Anyways, moving on. Check this out. Very suspicious, right? We've been keeping up with this. Listen, personally, Michael Saylor goes up in arms like, oh, a Bitcoin ETF. This is so awesome. I guess you can make an argument it's a step in the right direction. Personally, this revolution only works if people take self-custody of their Bitcoin, which is why we're not big fans of ETFs. But anyways, what's suspicious to me, though, is the behavior of the SEC, because they haven't approved a Bitcoin ETF for some reason or the other. And their argument was market manipulation, and their argument is volatility. Netflix, I think, is down over 50%. And all these companies, right, the so-called blue chip tech stocks. So I think there's something nefarious going on here. let me make the case. But first, let's check out this article by CNBC. Grayscale met privately with the Securities and Exchange Commission last week in an effort to persuade the regulator to approve the conversion of its flagship fund into an ETF. Turning the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a New York Stock Exchange traded ETF would broaden access to Bitcoin and enhance protections while unlocking up to $8 billion in value for investors. The SEC is discriminating against issuers by approving Bitcoin futures ETFs and denying Bitcoin spot ETFs. The deadline for the SEC to approve or reject Grayscale's application is July 6th. Now, here's the thing. With the futures ETF, that just suppresses the price, right? That because you're literally you're not selling Bitcoin that you don't have or you do have. So it's very suspicious now, and I kind of connected the dots a little bit. This is Brian Brooks. He was the CEO of Binance.us. He was the comptroller of the currency when the Trump administration was in office or was in power. And now he is the CEO of Bitfury, which is this American mining company. And he went on Fox Business on May 13th, right? And let's take a look at what he has to say.
Brian, when you were running the controller of the currency, which is a very big job, were all your little bank examiners and different staff people, were they all opposed to cryptocurrencies? Did they want to regulate them and control them and run them out of town?
Well, I mean, listen, there were on our side of the aisle, Larry, there were a couple of different points of view, but I think bureaucrats generally want to control things. Now, my argument to my staff at the time was, listen, there's this whole activity that's taking over the financial system. We have no visibility into it, and so we should invite it into the banking system so that we would have visibility. And I think that got the bank examiners across the line. It's the Fed you got to worry about, because the Fed doesn't control banks. They control money. And the Fed is very, very worried about a decentralized currency system that's outside of their political control. That's where the bodies are buried.
See, that's why.
Okay. That was the comptroller of the currency, and you heard what he had to say. So what you're trying to tell me, right, is that the SEC and those bureaucrats over there aren't getting pressured by, to use his words, the controllers of the money? I don't know, man. So, yeah, dude, there's just some nefarious work at play here. But like I said, we don't need a Bitcoin ETF. What we need is more people taking self-custody. That's how we win the revolution. But look, Phil, it confirms the case that we've been trying to make for months, right? You had someone who worked in government literally saying, hey, it's the Fed you got to worry about. They're the ones, with the bodies buried in the back. So yeah, man, it confirms our suspicions, confirms our thoughts, and I think that perhaps it's not the only reason, but perhaps it plays a role in why this Bitcoin ETF is not being approved by the SEC, because it doesn't make sense. How could you look at all these companies, look at the volatility, how could you say it's Bitcoin's fault, right? So it's just awfully suspicious, my friend, and I think he did a good job, and shout out to Brian, because he was also, by the way, that testified in front of the cleaning up cryptocurrency committee that they had in Congress. Brian Brooks is one of the people that testified, and we actually played one of his clips in that video. So yeah, man, it's just, I guess it's good to know who your enemies are in this decentralized Bitcoin revolution.
I think this is going to play out very interestingly because Bitcoin doesn't need an ETF, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't really care. And this is what I think that some of these traditional institutions, they're going to find themselves, some of these people, these Bitcoin haters, right, such as the Federal Reserve, I think they're going to find themselves slightly disillusioned because certainly this type of stuff, right, can dampen public perception and make people, think that like, oh, that's it, Bitcoin's dead, Bitcoin's going to zero, and this and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, that's the point. Unlike all of their traditional puppet systems, which require them to pump life into them to keep them going like a zombie, Bitcoin doesn't need that. Bitcoin has game theory that is desirable for us and incentives that is desirable for us. So they're going to find it really difficult. Like, to me, this is one of the last things that they have, right? Besides an outright ban, right? Which would be completely insane. I don't think that they would ever do that. But besides the attacks that they're doing with, that we're seeing with ESG, with the World Economic Forum, with all of these, the thing we covered last week there, that guy Curtis Ehrlich or something like that, with the shitcoin that he's making for the U.S. government, the CBDCs, all of these attacks, this is what they have. But look, at the end of the day, they can't stop it. They can't do anything. So they're freaking out. So what can they do now? Price suppression. And how can you do price suppression?
Futures.
You try futures and you take away people's ability to trade upon it. And you essentially, what you do is you slowly tie up the bigger money's access to it, or you make it more difficult. But that's not what they're doing. So if you ask me, I think this is a public perception thing. I think that to a certain extent, maybe they're not such fools. Maybe they understand Bitcoin's gameplay, and maybe they're doing this to try to, maybe some entities are doing this so that they can stack.
They could I think it's to slow it down, right?
I think it's to slow it down too. I agree.
They're revealing their cards, right?
Yes.
We saw what the IMF did in Argentina. You're trying to tell me the central bank of central banks isn't doing the same thing? I don't know about that. But anyways, Phil, remember how Casa went woke a couple weeks ago? Remember how they did the whole inclusionary stuff? Well, I kind of know why. Check this out. This is Nick Newman making this announcement, and look at the plebs; they're hilarious. And now we know why you were virtue signaling so hard a few weeks ago. And you keep. So that's why they went woke. So what happened? Why did they do that? Now we know why. They raised $21 million Series A funding. So apparently they turned to a lot of these woke VCs, right? And they needed, inclusionary hiring practices, I guess, to get some of that money. So again, we're simply Bitcoin, so we always like to tell you, the whole truth. But also, this is very good news. Let me tell you why it's good news as well. I just wanted to kind of put two and two together because I know a lot of you guys are going to have an aha moment, like, oh, that's why they were doing it. But anyways, so this is good news. I love Casa. I'm a big fan of the app, big fan of the company. Nick Newman is a great guy. So Casa announces new API, raises 21 million Series A funding. We've raised a 21 million Series A funding round, and we are announcing our newest product, the Casa API. What is the Casa API? Well, they go on to explain. As our industry grows, we're seeing more companies from the traditional software and finance world want to integrate Bitcoin and its capabilities. They don't typically have the knowledge in-house to build major pieces of the Bitcoin stack, like secure custody from the ground up. So they look for a way to integrate a custody offering from another company, and what do they find? Every single solution is custodial. The ability to integrate a highly secure self-custody solution via an API does not exist. We saw this problem and realized that the current custodial-focused ecosystem does a disservice to consumers. And what did I always tell you guys, right? Self-custody is the key. Of course, this is a company. Of course, these are companies taking self-custody. It doesn't matter. It's better thousands of companies taking self-custody than one big company custodying everyone's Bitcoin. And let me give you a real-world analogy of this, is BlackRock. BlackRock doesn't own all those shares, but because they custody all those shares, they inherit the voting power. Centralized custody is a bad thing. Anyways, they go on to say, in a world where Coinbase alone holds more than 10% of all Bitcoin in existence, it's more important than ever for people to have the choice to be their own bank. After all, the first sentence of the Bitcoin white paper is about using money without going through financial institutions. So shout out to Casa. I think it's a great idea. Congratulations on all the money raised. I just think it's funny that you guys went woke, and then 2 weeks later, or like a week later, you announced that you raised $21 million. Maybe it's connected, maybe it's not. It's a very big coincidence, though. Phil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to say that they didn't have to go woke, and they still probably could have gotten that funding. They could have said absolutely nothing, and life could have gone on. And anyways, but to each their own, right? That's their business, their decisions. So look, the main piece to this is this. As much as I don't like what happened with the Casa 2, right, the node, as much as I don't like what happened with that offering and that it got canceled and everything in the end, I have to say, this is actually pretty cool. This is pretty cool, you know, like I may not agree with the wokeness and all that garbage, but this is actually a step, I think, in the right direction. And interestingly enough, they are championing self-custody. So this is, I mean, look, we can say whatever we want, but this is a positive message for Bitcoin, and this is in the right direction. And the reality is that what people don't understand about APIs. Okay, so essentially, and to make it less nerdy, right? What it is it allows another piece of software to communicate with their piece of software, to bring their information in, okay? So that you can create this much richer, easier to use experience, okay? So in this case, you'd have some other company that would integrate and possibly show your holdings from Casa or something like that, and you wouldn't have to do a lot of configuration for this. You wouldn't have to really do anything. This would be done in the background. This is very cool stuff. This is, in the beginning, it's going to be very basic, but this should mean something really cool for accounting software, possibly. I mean, I personally have no clue. That's the only extent that I can think of, right? Like accounting or possibly, yeah, that's pretty much it. Accounting, because they don't have a node anymore, so there's no channel management. Sorry, man. I have to take a stab.
No, it's good, dude. You guys get it. We're simply Bitcoin. We don't censor ourselves. We're transparent about everything. I think it's an overall good. I completely agree. I think the more people, including companies, that take self-custody, the better, and the faster that, this revolution, this decentralized, peaceful revolution takes place. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. Brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, cyphersafe.io. Don't be a fool. Paper is not good enough. Store your seed in the Cypher Wheel or the all-new Cypher Grid. They both come with a tamper-resistant wire, and the grid comes with a punch tool. All right, we've got My Citadel version 1.1.0 that was released. That is down below in the show notes. Guys, don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You could stream us sats through Breeze.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. Before we go, I want to give a actually, before I do that, I want to make an announcement. So next week, I'm not going to tell you exactly which day, but roughly next week, it's my birthday, so I'm taking a trip for my birthday. I'm going to be gone for about a week. Phil and Optimus, the new member of Simply Bitcoin, are going to be holding Twitter Spaces. We're going to be releasing clips while I'm gone and shorts. But the regular show, it's going to be on hiatus for about a week, a small little vacation. We'll be back either the 23rd or the 24th. We'll keep you guys updated. Check out YouTube. We'll do some ports, but we're still going to be posting content. So you're going to still see clips. You're still going to see shorts. And yeah, it's good to take some time off for your birthday sometime. Even though I'm not the one that likes it and feels like, you got to take time off. As I get older, I'm starting to understand why he says that. But anyways, guys, before we go, I want to give a very special shout out to our awesome clothing sponsor, RepresentLTD.com. Phil and I wear their awesome hoodies every single day. This is the Bitcoin merch. Phil is wearing the Represent Decentralized Corpse. They're also coming out with Simply Bitcoin merch soon. You can take advantage of the promo code down below to get 10% off. Guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Of course, you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails and the Bitcoin news from the plebe perspective. Definitely consider subscribing to Simply Bitcoin. We'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode.
Everything but the money printer is to blame. Bitcoin fixes this.